Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to be reviewing Frozen, which was the huge Disney smash hit which came out at the end of 2013. Now we all know the history of Disney. We know that they've consistently made great movies over all the decades, so many memorable movies, but I would say probably starting around 1996 they kind of started to lose their mojo and they started to kind of fizzle out, just in terms of popularity and also quality, in my opinion. But they're back, clearly. I'm a bit morally conflicted with Disney, pretty much have been ever since I was a teenager, and I think a lot of people are. I always wonder if it's really doing a good service to kids or not. A lot of times it's both, it's a gray area. But you know, I think a lot of times Disney is heavily contributing to the way we perceive beauty, feminism, and just societal conventions. And I think that, I mean, it certainly contributed to the way I saw those things when I was a kid. But, you know, like having the beautiful princess, having the prince and the female, you know, being captured a lot, and you know, having to get married and you know, happily ever after, all of those things. But I have to say, even though Frozen does stick to that formula that we all know and we've grown up with, it does put a very interesting spin on a lot of those conventions, which I found very refreshing. First of all, the characters are interesting, and I know that sounds like something that would be obvious, but I haven't seen that a lot from a lot of animated movies as of late. I mean, I don't watch that many anymore, but you know, just in what I've seen, I don't see characters like the ones that really pop on screen in Frozen. The movie is about two sisters. How often do you see that? In an American animated movie, it's usually a man and woman, and yes, they have that in this movie too, but the core story is about the sibling relationship. And I thought that was great. Something, again, that you don't see very often. And these two characters definitely are very different from one another. They both have, you know, very distinct characteristics, as I said. They are independent and somewhat free-spirited, or if they're not, they kind of start to become that throughout the movie. And to me, it's a far cry from the Snow Whites and Sleeping Beauties of the world to have female characters that kind of speak their mind and are independent. I mean, it's true, they do look like Barbie dolls, and a lot of that is just the animation, which I wasn't crazy about. And you know, just this idea we have, this idealist idea we have that we have to project on screen. But you know what? I think it's a step in the right direction. And speaking of, you know, independence, as we all know, the Let It Go number, which has become very famous, everybody's been singing it for the last several months, is by far my favorite part of the movie because it speaks to empowerment in a very just a nice, surprising way. It's a lot of the music in the movie is very kind of, you know, Alan Menken-esque. It's got kind of that Broadway Disney 101 flavor to it. I mean, none of it's really brilliant to me, but I loved the Let It Go number. It was just one of those things that really got to me in a way that I wasn't expecting. It's a simple song, but it's very effective because you've got Elsa, the main character, who is, you know, very insecure and rigid and feels like an outcast, and yet in that moment she decides, I'm not going to let things bother me. I'm going to own who I am and just be happy with myself. And that is just a wonderful message. And I love the best part of the song is when she says, let it go, and she just takes her hair down and then she goes, here I stand, and she's got that sexy walk, and it makes you want to cheer. A woman who's finally, you know, owning her sexuality and owning her womanhood. I just think that was great. I think it's a wonderful anthem message for young girls. I wish there had been more songs like that from Disney movies when I was a young girl. And also, I love the way, as I said, I mentioned that they like to poke fun of a lot of the conventions and a lot of the formula that we've seen in Disney before. Like an early song, Love is an Open Door, where one of the characters, one of the sisters, she meets this guy, and immediately they just fall in love at first sight, and they want to get married. And of course, how often does that happen? Almost never, in that way anyway. And of course, the rest of the movie, people are saying, really? You don't even know his last name. Why would you get married after just meeting somebody? So they're kind of poking fun at those kind of old Hollywood conventions. And then there's the problem. You know, in Disney movies, there's always a problem that the protagonist has to overcome and just needs to confront in order to have that happy ending that we all want. And in this one, it's one of those true love's first kiss things, where you have to do something, you know, you have to, you know, have love before you can break the spell, that kind of thing, which we see over and over and over again. But with this movie, I'm not going to give it away because, again, I know most people have seen Frozen, but for those who haven't, I'm going to keep this spoiler free. The way that this is done, I kind of didn't expect. You know, I thought it was a very interesting, heartfelt way to kind of bring the story, the flow of the story, and the main themes of the story intact. And yeah, I really do think that this movie had a lot of great things going for it. Now, as I mentioned before, I have that love-hate relationship with Disney. I don't think that this movie is anywhere near the level of, you know, a great animated work like Fantasia, something that really breaks the boundaries of narrative and just really takes risks, or even, you know, not even just American animation, but like a Miyazaki film, something really powerful and different, and does not have those very rigid traditional conventions of the beautiful queen, princess, and all of that. And even though Disney has a long way to go before it ever starts breaking boundaries like that, it's taking baby steps. And in this instance, those baby steps really did pay off with something that was just really entertaining. So those are my thoughts on Frozen. I really did enjoy it. If you haven't seen it, you know, like the 5 of you out there who have not seen it yet, go see it. Or rent it, I should say. It's definitely worth your time. Even if you if you're not a big fan of animated movies, I think you'll find some things in this that you'll like. So that is my review. Thank you for listening. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, the link is below for that, and I will catch you all next time. Thanks for listening.